Well, thank you. Thanks, Felicia. Hi, everyone. Welcome into our Valentine sublimation workshop. I don't have as much space as I always want in on my table to work with everything. So I have a few things sort of around me and behind me. Today's workshop will be working with the Sawgrass sublimation printer. And if you're not familiar with sublimation, sublimation is a printing method that uses specialty ink. The ink is designed so that as the ink is heated, the color is released from the paper and then absorbed onto your blank, which is appropriate for sublimation. So the easiest way to say it is your sublimation is a special printer with special ink, special paper on special blanks. So what makes the blanks different than, say, any other blank you might use? The blanks have to have a polyester coating on it so that when that ink color, the pigments, are released from the paper by this high temperature, that color then is absorbed onto the polyester, which is on the surface of your blank. What the difference is with sublimation and, say, heat transfer vinyl or other ways to decorate, the sublimation actually absorbs into that polyester and becomes one with your blank. So I can't pick this off. I can't scratch this off. It is part of the surface. I don't feel it. I can go through the dishwasher. I can, leave it outside for months. I'll probably lose my vase or my tumbler before the ink goes away. And that's the same with like if you're using sublimation on a t-shirt or something like that. You have to have a special t-shirt that has a high polyester content, or you use something in between the sublimation and the t-shirt. So like you could use sublimation vinyl, heat transfer vinyl, that is appropriate to take the sublimation design, and then that gets pressed onto your t-shirt. So just keep in mind when you're thinking about sublimation, it's special ink, special paper, special printer, and special blanks. Now, the sublimation printer is designed with their specific ink. So this is my printer that is dedicated to doing sublimation. I have another printer that does stickers or something like that, but this one is exclusively for sublimation. And Sawgrass has done a wonderful job creating a website that allows me to design on the website and print direct from the website to my Sawgrass printer through PrintMate. Now, I also then use different heat sources depending on what I'm making. Today, we're going to work with our heater here, and I think I may have to push my camera back so we can all see that. But I'm going to work with the oven, the sublimation oven, and tumblers. So with this tumbler, for example, this is perfect for a vase as well as a tumbler. So you could save your top and straw and use it as a tumbler, or you could put some pretty Valentine flowers in this vase if you wanted to. So why don't we go ahead? I'm going to share my screen here, and I'll take us into the sublimation, to the Sawgrass website, so that you can see how it all kind of comes together. So let me go here. Let's see, I need to, sorry, let me have a lot of my, here we go. Okay. Here is my sublimation website. Okay, so I have this design that I just finished up on the screen here that I'm sharing. So I did just print that design, and that's actually the one on the glitter tumbler. So why don't I start from the beginning and we'll make this together. So in the Sawgrass, I'm going to discard my changes. So in the Sawgrass website, what you do is you just come on in and you say, hey, I'm going to create a new creation. And you start with a blank. Now, Sawgrass has a lot of different blanks that you can select from. So most of the design, the blanks that you'll be working with are already included in the software. If not, you can open up a custom canvas. So you can even just design on a flat 8.5 by 11, cut it up, whatever you'd like to do on that type of surface. But we're going to be working with a drinkware. I have the skinny tumblers here, and it's a 20-ounce skinny tumbler. So that's this 20-ounce skinny tumbler. So I apply that to my canvas. And this will give me the dimensions and the design that I need to create to go onto the canvas. Now, I just had a really basic background, so you just can pick a background. And Sawgrass fortunately has a lot of different choices to choose from. In fact, just I think this morning or over the weekend, they loaded up some new surface type of backgrounds, which are really pretty, and they already have a few Easter backgrounds in here. But since we're working on Valentine's Day, we are going to scroll down and pick the conversation heart background right here. So once I've chosen the background, now you can change the colors. So if you wanted to make this more of like a red colors or something like that, you could, oops, sorry about that. You can always go in and adjust the colors on the design and change those colors to be different colors. So you can just remove the backgrounds. You can pick specific colors to remove. You can reset it. But once you're happy with it, you just click done. And that brings the design onto the tumbler. Now, you may think, oh, that's a little bit too small. I'd like to change that. On the left-hand side, you can change it from a tile design to be a brick design. And then you can increase the spacing of the repeat or change the size of the overall design. So I enlarged mine up to about 10 inches, or a repeat of size of 10. So it was nice and big. I had a little bit on the side, which I'm going to show you how you can fix that. So I have half hearts here. The hearts go from one side to the other and give me a nice line there. But if you're not familiar or you're not super comfortable with lining your design up, I'm going to show you how we can adjust that a little bit. And then you can say done. Now, if you want to add any additional elements to this, you certainly can. So you can go into their graphic library and pick out some different elements to add to this. There's a whole selection of love. So you can grab this little ticket if you want to, and say you want to put that on there, that your Valentine's, your ticket or something like that. And then you can always change the colors here as well. So you can go in and choose the color. So if you wanted to make this pink more of an orange color or yellow, you could change your color like that. And then that way you can coordinate your colors between the different elements. But I'm going to go ahead, and I'm actually not going to keep that on my design here. So I'm just going to take this and throw it in the trash. So I'll just have the overall hearts on there. But you can add a photo if you want to. If you have images that you've uploaded, you can upload a file. So if you're doing a vase for, say, a friend, or if this is your business and you want to make vases for, say, a high school dance team, you want to make something for them to sell with the high school colors or something like that. You could absolutely change all this out and have people send you pictures. You can upload the pictures and then print the picture onto the vase. So that's kind of a fun little feature there. So I'll go ahead and add that on there. I'll add a picture on there because this one doesn't have, the one I have done doesn't have a picture on it. So I'll add a picture on there so you guys can see what that would look like. And I can kind of like change the design of it a little bit and add hearts around that if I wanted to. Let's say I wanted to add a little heart there. Doesn't really go with the background, so I don't know if I'll leave that on there or not, but if you can get the idea, you could add different elements around your design. So I'll just add the picture, and if you wanted to put a frame around it, you could certainly put a frame and do a search for frame. Now, with the Sawgrass designs, something to keep in mind, all of the designs that they offer are they already have the royalty on them. So you can make something in the Sawgrass software and then add that. Let's see, my picture's not, the corners aren't rounded on my picture, so that's not going to work. But you can add an element, use their backgrounds, use their designs, and they already have the royalty on there. So you don't have to worry about copyright issues or anything like that. They've already taken care of all of that for you. So now if I wanted to save this in print, I've got it, maybe you've got how you want it to be. I'm going to save and print. So we'll name this for the client, Mike, Valentine's Day. So he said he wanted to make a tumbler for his wife. Here we go. He contracted me to do that. And so we're just going to save that. And then it will open in the PrintMate software. So it'll stay here for a second, and then it will open in the PrintMate software as it's downloading. Are there any questions that you guys have about using the PrintMate software or anything like that? Feel free to drop them in the Q&A. So now you can see how this tumbler is going to look. And what we'll see is the design on it with the image on that design. Now, when I'm ready to, I can say print. So I just go to print this design. And I'm going to pull my camera back so we can hopefully get a better shot of the printer coming out and everything. All right, so now what happens is it opens in the PrintMate, and you say open in, you just say open in PrintMate. So let me do that. I have to change that out here. So it changes the screen for a second there. So let's just change that. Okay, so now it's going to open the design in PrintMate. So it takes a moment to communicate over to the PrintMate software and everything, but that's going to print out for me. Now I can change from here. You can resize it a little bit, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that, because I found with my tumbler I needed just a little hair extra on the width. So in the software here, I was able to change that right in here. Okay, while that's working its magic, it's still thinking about everything. I'll just kind of go over a few of the different elements you need to make your design. So I used the glitter tumbler here, and I think this is the first time I did a pastel on the glitter tumbler. One thing, your glitter tumblers and your frosted tumblers, the colors come out a little bit, not cloudy, but like lighter. So I would choose more vibrant colors on this version, because it just, I think it would give me a better look than the pastel color does. I have alcohol and lint-free wipes. So I'm going to wipe my surface down with the alcohol and the lint-free wipe. So I have you want no like lint or anything on your tumbler, so that if you have a piece of lint in between your print and your tumbler, that lint will prevent the dye from getting to the tumbler. So it'll block the dye. So you want to make sure it's very clean and clear. And then I have my tape roller with heat tape on it, so that you can't just use regular Scotch tape or painter's tape or masking tape. I do have my painter's tape up here to remind you, don't use painter's tape. You want to use the heat resistant tape when you tape your design onto your sublimation. Then we have a heat gun, because when you're using the convection oven style, you'll use a wrap, and the wraps come in 3 different sizes, but we'll use this skinny wrap here, and we'll tape the design onto the tumbler and then wrap it with the sleeve here so that it will fit into the oven, and the sleeve just holds everything really nice and tight. Okay, so I'm on a slight delay here. On my, it's not coming over, so give me 1 second. If there were any questions, I would be happy to help answer those questions as we're working along. Okay, let's see. I'm going to retry to open that in PrintMate. It says it's downloading the artwork, so it just may take a minute for the artwork to come through. And if not, if I have, unfortunately, I work in my basement, so it gets a little cold down here sometimes. And I had my heater on before the workshop, and I turned on my oven to make sure it was nice and hot, and I blew my fuse. So it took me a little bit of time to get everything reconnected. And actually, while we're waiting for my files to load up, there we go. Okay, now let me see if it'll open in PrintMate for me. May have had something pausing it. I had some already printed out, but I'm not sure what I did with them. There we go. Okay. So let's share my screen again here from the Zoom. Okay. Let's see. Oh, weird. Okay, it's not letting me share my PrintMate screen. I may have closed it. Sorry, everybody. I usually don't. Sometimes technology, it takes a minute to catch everything up on the same speed. Okay, so here we are in Zoom. Let me get to share my screen. Share screen, and we're going to share the PrintMate screen. Okay, so now you can see my PrintMate screen, and I've got the image that we're going to print out here. Now, one thing I noticed before is I needed just a little extra bit of room. So what I did was I made it a little bit bigger so that the width was just a hair bit bigger. So I'm just going to change this width. Actually, I'm going to change my width just a little bit. I think I just did it to like 9.84. Now, what that's going to do is change just everything. It keeps the proportions the same, but it just makes it a little bit bigger on the width. Then I'm just going to choose the color management here. And my color management, I'm going to use photographic because I have the picture on there. Otherwise, I would choose vibrant if it was just graphics. And then I'm going to go ahead and say print. Now, you may be wondering how the other vase I was working with on this one here, this one usually goes on a little bit of a bigger sheet of paper, which you can get the larger paper and a larger tray holder to hold the larger paper. I don't have that yet. So what I did was I took my image in, let's see, let me get back to PrintMate here. Oh, hard to make this. I took my image in Photoshop and cut it in half. So what I want to show you is what that turned out to look like, but it's not letting me share my screen here. Here we go. So on this image, I took the image and I cut it in half. Now I have my outline around it, so I know how to fit it together. And with this, I'm just going to choose vibrant, and I'll print this one. Now, the funny thing is, the first time I printed this design, I mirrored the image, forgetting that the PrintMate software will automatically mirror this image for me. So I didn't need to do that. Okay, so that's sort of like little tips and tricks you learn along the way. So we'll be able to do both of those, and I'll show you how both of those will mix in, will hold on to your tumblers. All right, so this is my specialty paper. Now, when you look at it, you may look at it and go, oh, that's very dull. How is that possibly going to turn out so bright and vibrant? When it heats up, the heat releases the ink and that vibrancy comes out. So I'm going to take us to my overhead camera here, and then I'll show you how I prep this to go onto my tumbler. All right. Oh, my thing is just beeping and telling me it's hot enough. Ready to go. So I have both of these, which I'll show you. We'll work on both of those. So first thing I'm going to do is look at my tumbler and realize I have this very straight edge at the top. So what I can do with that is give myself a nice clean cut on that top edge. And that's what will go along the top edge of the tumbler. So I'll use my paper trimmer. And if you don't have a paper trimmer, I would recommend using a ruler and an X-Acto knife to get that straight edge. But you really want to have a nice, clean, straight edge on the top or the bottom. It's up to you which one you like best. But I like to do it on the top. Then what I'm going to do is I'll take my tumbler here and we're going to get it prepped to receive the design. So I'll just take one of my lint-free cloths, and this just came from, I got my lint-free cloths from Amazon. You can use a paper towel, but paper towels have lint on it, so I tend not to use that. I just spritz a little bit of my alcohol. So my rubbing alcohol is in this little container, and I just use that and I clean off my tumbler. Now, I do wash my hands before I do sublimation, so I don't have any grease on my hands or anything like that. And then we're going to start with the tumbler upside down. Now, I'll tell you, it just like remembering to mirror your design, the same thing about putting your design right side up. So that's also why it's helpful to have a solid top and the top of your design. So the top of my design is right here. So I'll just take my design and make sure the top is down and make sure it's going to fit on my tumbler. And it certainly is going to fit right on there with a little bit of extra. So this side here, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a trim on this side. And then I'm going to do a little trick. So here's what my first real trick for you guys. Sometimes when you overlap your design, you might get some shadowing. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, sorry, I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to actually put some heat sealing tape on the back of this design. Let me just get that there. And I'm very careful not to get my fingers on the design because I don't want any grease or anything from my fingers to get onto the paper. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this will be my flat side here. So I'll take my tape and I'm going to put a piece of tape along the edge of the design. This way, if my other side overlaps on top of it, the sublimation dye won't go through. So this is a little hit or miss for me. I think it takes some time and practice to really get a good mastery of it, but I'm okay with just having that work out for me. as you learn, you'll get better. I always figure I get better at things as I learn. Okay, so I've got my tumbler. We're going to bring that back over, and I'm going to put the top of my design down so I don't go upside down. And since it's round, you don't have to worry about, I'm not too worried about getting it centered, because you don't have a center of this project. Now, the benefit to having my tape here is I can also just then take my tape and use that as my starting point of my design. And then we're going to wrap the design around the tumbler. So once I've got it started, you're just going to take your design and wrap it around the tumbler. Now, as you go, you want to tape along the design. So we're going to get it lined up here and start putting adhesive, putting the heat resistant tape just along the top of the design here. And this is going to hold my design in place. You can never use too much tape. That's kind of my philosophy with this. You can never use too much. So just put a few pieces to start. And then what you want to really make sure is that you get a nice tight fit along the bottom of your tumbler. So you can come back and tape that up. Now we are going to be putting, we will be putting the shrink wrap on it. So you may feel like I don't need to do that much, but I just find it never hurts to have that much tape on your design. Okay, now you can see the edge of my design right there. And it's just going to hold down nicely onto my other side here. So I have an overlap. This part here doesn't have any design. You could trim that down if you wanted to, or you can just use that as something to hold down. Now you'll notice there's no gaps along the top. So again, it doesn't hurt to put down more adhesive. You're better off making sure that that is going to hug onto your cup. It does take a little bit extra patience to remove it at the end of the design, but that's okay. All right. We're just going to tape this all around. Anywhere there's a little nugget showing, we're just going to tape that right onto it. Like a little air there. We're just going to keep making sure that gets all cleared up. Okay. Then do the same thing. We'll flip it over and you can add the more additional tape on the bottom. If you have trouble with the bottom, you can, if you have extra paper hanging out at the end here, you can always give it a little snip. If you need to get it to lay down flat, you can certainly do that. This is going on very nicely because we trimmed the top of it. So that goes on really nicely. All right, so I'm happy with this. I think we've got plenty of tape to go there. We've got a nice hold on our design here. Now the next part is, I know we tested our, there we go. The next part is to grab your sleeve. So this is just, comes in a packet of sleeves. And they're different sizes. So if you're making a mug or a tumbler, you have different sizes. And then we're just going to place that inside the sleeve. And I like to put it in the middle. So I have about the same on the top and the bottom. If you want to, you can put a little piece of your tape on it, but watch what happens as we start to heat it up. This might be a little bit loud, but this is a shrink plastic. So as you begin to heat it up, it will begin to shrink around your shape. This just takes a generic heat gun, like if you're a stamper, you may have a heat gun you use for stamps or other craft projects. And you just don't want to go too close in one spot or too much heat in one spot and pop it open. But what this does is it really holds the design onto your surface nice and tight. All right. So that is on there very nice. So now I'm going to hold this here so you guys can see. This was the one on the glitter, and this one is solid white. Okay. Now, once this is ready to go in the oven, we just need to turn the oven on. So let's come back. I'm going to come back to my front facing camera. and slide around. So with your with the oven, it has an upper and a lower oven a tray to it. So when you open it, you could move your tray higher up or keep it low down. So you have an upper and a lower heat temperatures. I like to keep I set both of them at 360 and we're going to turn it on. Now, if it needs to heat up a little bit more, it will heat up. As soon as I open the door and close it, my timer will start. So I want to make sure that I have my little guy ready to go when it beeps and tells me that it's the right temperature. This is from Craft Express, and it's in the Michaels aisle along with all of the blanks, the sublimation blanks. If you don't have, let me just see if I turn up to. There we go. I just want to get it hot enough so it'll beep at me and tell me it's ready. If you don't have, if not every Michaels has the convection ovens for this, some of them you can order it online. And the way it works is it's a convection oven, so like it blows heat around. Not only does it heat up like a regular oven, but the convection part of it also blows heat. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop it open and push this in there, just on the tray. The tray will come in and out. Now, I may have put it in too early, so it may not be timing down for me. I want to turn the power on or off. Usually I'll give like 3 long beeps, I think, when it's hit the right temperature. So oops. Sorry, I'm anxious. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. But also don't mess it up for you. Get that out. We'll just give it the right time to heat up. All right. That's it. Everyone must have the Monday quiets. All right. Well, I'm going to let that heat up, and once it beeps, I can go back over to it. But in the meantime, why don't I talk a little bit about this one? This design, I actually used 2 different pieces of I printed out my design in 2 parts. So it's 2 different parts here. So I'm just going to take my scissors and just roughly cut out my design. So I don't want that black design in my, when I finish. So I want to make sure I cut that edge off on each of the designs here. So we're just going to trim that right off like that. Now, this part here, this edge will go, oh, there we go. See, it's ready. All right, let me come over here and we'll pop this right in. So it's already, the timer's already going down on it. We'll put that in there and we'll let that go. So that'll take 6 minutes. Okay, so back over here, I'm going to trim these down. Now, this side of my hearts will go right up next to, did I do that right? Sorry, this side, the side with the more white. This will go right up next to other hearts. So I'm going to trim really close to those sides. Okay. So as I trim that, and let me switch over to my overhead camera so you guys can see how I'm doing this. Okay, so I've got my little heart here, first side. So you'll see how this is just going to lay in right next to this one. On this side, I'm just going to trim this down along those black lines because those black lines were just really there as my guidelines for my design. So we're just going to trim that right out. Now I could do this one of 2 ways. One, I could put one design down first and then I tape it onto my tumbler and then come back and tape the other side down. But I like to kind of get it straight on my work surface before putting it on my tumbler. So we're just going to kind of walk around there and cut those out. Now, to get it to kind of match back up, you can create a jig. And a jig is basically a template that you can use to make sure everything's going to fit together. So for this one, I made a little jig here, and it's the cutout shape of the design. So all I have to do is put my one side in and grab my other side and put this side in here. So I want to just make sure that I don't have any anything overlapping. Now, with this space in the middle, I can very easily just apply this side down and then apply this side down. If you want to make sure that you have this white space covered, you can put a piece of butcher paper down so that you can work on the butcher paper, or just apply it to your shape, your tumbler. So this will be my tumbler. Let's live on the edge, and we're going to apply it one side at a time instead of making it one big piece. And these sides should relatively line up. Now, tapers can be a little challenging. So I always recommend, if you're just getting started, you may not want to start with a tapered design, even though it's so tempting and they're so cute. You may want to start with your coffee mugs and your skinny tumblers, because they're just easier to do. You don't have this angled side here that you're working with. And I won't need my top here, so we can take that off. And again, how fun is this to use the tumblers as a different purpose than just a drink tumbler? People have enough drink tumblers right now. This is a fun use of the tumblers. So I just cleaned that off. And then we're just going to start with our center. And we're just going to line that up along the top again using our tape. And the bottom. Now, as you'll see, as I bring this around, you'll notice the design is kind of taking itself upwards. So if that happens, and you don't want that to happen, you want it to lay down flat, one thing is to start your design a little bit lower. So let me get myself a little bit lower here, line up my bottoms. And we're just going to start in the middle here and bring it around so it's more flat. And we'll tape it down on this side here, right, like that. And tape it along the top edge here. I find working from side to side does make it a little bit easier, as opposed to working from one side and only working one side over. Now you can see there's little gaps of air there. So I really want to make sure on this design that the design really touches onto the surface, and I have those gaps sealed up. So my design is as tight to the surface as it possibly can be. So go back here and just tape right over here too. Okay, and then same thing over here. We're just going to keep adding that tape. Like I say, you can never have too much tape. So go right down on that side there and tape that in. Now, because I have the other pieces that are going to overlap onto this design a little bit, I'm not going to tape that down yet. I want to make sure that I'm overlapping in the right areas. So I'm just going to put that over here. Oops. And you know what? Before I finish that, I am going to pull out our other piece here, because once you've done the heating on it, you want to remove your plastic piece as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to switch that around. And that's because this your shrink plastic will harden back up, and that makes it really difficult to get it. Not like unsurmountably difficult, but it does make it a little bit more difficult to take it off once it's heated back up again. So if you can take it off right away, you'll be one step ahead. So you can see this is already hardened up top here compared to the bottom part. You just pull it down. This is always the fun part, the reveal. Until you realize, maybe if you put it on upside down, then you're a little bummed. So just remember, mirror and know the top side of your design. Okay, so once we've got that done, then you can just come back here and very, very carefully remove your tape. And this will help to reveal your design. Ooh, so cute, look at that. See how the color transferred from your paper onto your tumbler. So what was, didn't appear so vibrant when we started is really a very vibrant design. How cute. There we go. It's still very hot, so I don't want to touch it too much with my hands. But there it is. Isn't that adorable? So very fun. Think about like if you have a side hustle with your tumblers and things, think about doing something like this for graduation gifts or anything like that. That's a great opportunity to have those as graduation presents. Okay, so now for this one, I'm back on here. I'm going to just make sure that I don't overlap into the paper and into the designs. So it seems like it would be easiest just to put this on flat like that, but I have a little bit of an overlap there that I wasn't expecting. So I think I'm going to just kind of go at an angle and make sure everything's flat and not touching. Just a smidge. All right, that's perfect. So I'm down here and we're just going to start taping right onto our tumbler. We'll do the same process. So you just tape it around and we're going to just tape these pieces down here. So they're held onto the surface. And this is also a technique you can use if you're, if you want to cut out like a whole sheet of designs, you can do that and then kind of come in and place them how you want them to be on your tumbler. And I just trimmed that one off because it was overlapping. So I'm gonna, I'll show you, but we'll put that down. All right. There we go. And then make sure that one goes down there. And then I could just come back with this little guy here and tuck him in so that he'll fit a little bit. It's going to overlap a little bit there. Not quite sure how I want to handle that. If I want it to overlap or not. Let me see if I cut him down just a smidge bit. Okay. So this is a fun way if you are working with multiple layers or multiple pictures. You can always do it like this in pieces and just kind of puzzle it back together. And then when we use that, when we use the shrink wrap, it will hold all of this in one spot. So you don't have to worry about those little gaps on the sides there. The shrink wrap will really make sure that that's all down and held together. Make sure my bottom's all held together nicely. All right, so here we go. Now I'm just going to grab another one of those sleeves and take another sleeve. And put this on there. And then we'll just heat it right up. and then put it in the oven. Now, the great thing I think about the oven is you can do a variety of sizes with one machine. Make sure we get it right. You want to make sure around the bottom and the top that it's really going to hold that seal for you. And just don't hold your heat gun in one place too long. All right, so now we've got that one, and I'll pop that in the oven, and it'll take about 6 minutes to do that one. Let me just see how are we doing on time. Oh, perfect. Okay, so let me switch us back to our overhead camera, and then we'll have an opportunity for Q&A. So if we have questions, we can definitely answer those questions, right? Okay, oops, I left my little oven open here. So we'll just turn this back on. And I'm going to open it. Let's make sure it's going to work for me. All right, we're not quite at our temperature yet. So we're going to give that just a second to kind of get to its temperature. And then we can pop that right in. It should beep. Like I said, I'm never patient enough to let it beep through. So I always kind of go like, oh, no, not yet. I think once it hits it, now that I've opened it and closed it, it will start counting down. So some other ideas of things that you can make for Valentine's Day is to put together like a little gift basket for somebody who, maybe you have somebody who is a reader and they like to read. So maybe you want to put together like a little love book basket, or maybe for your chocolate lover or your journal lover, grab a little journal and you can do the sublimation on a journal, maybe give them, sublimate some cute little socks for them, anything like that to put together. Let's see now if this will start counting down for me. It's 6 minutes. Nope, it's not hot enough. I see I'm impatient. I gotta let it beep. I'm gonna let it beep and not be impatient on it. It has little flashing lights here that tells me that it's heating up to this temperature. But like I said, I'm impatient. As soon as it'll have a coffee lover basket, how fun would that be to make like some mugs for a coffee lover, and you can even do, you know, make a little burlap sack and put some coffee beans in there. You can make coasters with it. With your book lover, you could add some notebook or some bookmarks in there. So many fun things. If you have like a teenager maybe who's starting to drive, you could make some air felties for the car, like some car fresheners. All right, I'm just impatient. I can't wait for this to heat up. A t-shirt, you could do t-shirts for people. I'm curious, what have you all made? If anybody wants to drop in the chat what you've made so far with your sublimation printer, and really what else you're looking to expand on, and what else you want to make with your sublimation printer. I'd love to know what you're doing. I love the waiting. It's fun to have it heat up. That's your time to tidy up and clean up your space, so you don't get too messy. All right. I was gonna check it again, see if it's heated up. Nope, it will beep. It will beep. I just need to be patient. Now, if you wanted to, you have also, if you're just doing, say, you're just gonna do mugs or something like that, you do have just a mug tumbler that you could use if you were just doing if you just wanted to do like mugs, you could do the mug tumbler, and you do it very similar to the oven. You don't have to use the shrink wrap on it. You just want to protect it with butcher paper, and then you can just slide your mug right into the mug press and then turn that on, and that will do the same technique with a mug as it does with your tumblers and such. But this is only, you're really limited to different sizes of mugs. But if you can't necessarily, you can't do tumblers and things like that in the mug press. Okay, so it just beeped for me. And we'll just pop this right in. And that will take about 6 minutes to heat that up. So with your mug press, you really do the same technique. Got this little guy here. It's the same technique. You can put your designs on it, add text to your design. And then instead of using the sleeve with your design, what you would do is wrap it with butcher paper. And the butcher paper is really so you put your design on and then you put butcher paper on with tape. And really the butcher paper is designed so that the inside of your mug press, the color doesn't release from your mug into the inside of your mug press. So that's really the main difference there. But again, your mug press the timing is automated. So it's really easy. You put it in and then it pops out. Most of the machines we're working with do have automatic off. So after a certain point of time, the system will shut down. So if you get called away, if something happens and you get distracted, you don't have to worry. These will shut down automatically. I'm trying to give all the other fun features about your Sawgrass printer. You can connect it with Bluetooth or with Wi-Fi. So I find I can connect it with Wi-Fi for my home network and use it on different computers from different spaces. But if I'm working right here, I will just grab the cord and connect it right into the cord. And knowing that the Design Mate has all of those images and the backgrounds and the designs that I can use, that is such a reassurance of how much there is that I can do if I had a side hustle or something like that. Let me pull back up the let's see, let me pull back up the, where are we? Here we go, the website, so you can see some more of the design. So if I were to create a new creation here, I could come in, and again, you can see just browsing through the catalog of all the different accessories that are in here. Like if you were making a little basket, you could make ribbons. If you could do these, use this as your inspiration. You could do, if you were working on a baby basket, a new mom, or if you were working on a spring break basket, you could do that. The drinkware probably is the most popular and easiest items to do because everybody needs a mug, a tumbler, something like that. I really loved adding a recipe to a mug. So over the holidays, I had this design and I had a recipe in it, and I could gift it with the ingredients to make the design. That was fun. If you have somebody who is going away for new school or anything like that, the electronic section has a lot of ideas for mouse pads and something to hold your iPads or your computers, are all under this electronic section. And then you have lots of home decor, kitchen and dining. Again, another great area to explore for like your chocolate lover or something like that. You could make like a little chocolate charcuterie board. You could do like I just think somebody who not cleans, but like somebody who enjoys cooking, you could do a hot pad for them. You could make hand towels for them. So many different ideas. Coasters, the aprons are just a mommy and me apron, and do like a little design there. So there really are a lot of different designs within the Sawgrass software of what you can design. And all you have to do is, grab your blank. So if you're doing, let's say you wanted to do the notebook, this A5, do an A5 paper notebook and design that. So you could, if you bring that in and design that element, you just design the front and the back pieces. So you have side 1 and side 2. So if on the back of it, you wanted to have a graphic design, like maybe made with love or something like that, or just a little design in the bottom. I love this heart. I don't know why. But if you wanted to add that on the back of it, say this was for their, you were doing something like class of 2024. So you could add a font and add class of 2024. And then you can come down to the effects and curve your design if you wanted to. We could do this one. And let's make that a little bit less of a curve. Or a little bit more of a curve. Let's go a little smaller. But you get the idea. You can bring that right down on with the element. That. And do this. And then if you wanted to, on the fonts, like if you felt like, oh, I want the letters to be a little bit further apart, like that, you could change your font color if you wanted to. So all kinds of fun things that you can do with your own designs. And then on the front, we could add a design, an all over background design. And you just go to patterns, and let's say it's for a science notebook. You could just add this design. And let's say you want an exact fit, so it'll fit on the notebook like that. So many fun things. And I'm sure you guys just heard our oven beep and let us know that it's ready. So we will I'll come over. Sorry, I gotta come in front and grab our tumbler. Okay, I'm gonna bring this over and we'll start. Let's get the overhead camera going again. Grab that one. Okay, and then I'll just grab with my scissors and start cutting this out. Well, it is hot. It's not, the plastic part of it is not so hot that I can't touch it to remove it. So I can just use that and pull that off. But the metal part of it is very hot, and I don't want to touch the metal part of the design. Great to see how my cut apart design comes. Then you start peeling that right off. Now you can see where some of that color did come off onto the paper here. And all right, so we'll just start on one side. Start the reveal. Look at how cute. See how the color really came off the paper and onto the tumbler. And this would be a fun, you can gift this to somebody with candy inside or something like that, if you have little sweets to put inside. Now with the way I did that seam, you really can't tell where my pattern was the start and the end of the pattern. So just something to always take into consideration on how you do your design. But there we go. 2 super fun designs. And I hope this helped kind of demystify a little bit the process. Oops, sorry guys. The process of how to use the convection oven and how to use some of the different tumbler designs, and give you some good ideas to get started with your own sublimation process. Thanks so much for Felicia for being here with us, and I hope everyone has a great week.